Oh yeah, I gotta send a message to my friend, because I forgot. He commented on my video saying, "Hi, would you like to see ramen pics?" Now I have to send him a video message accordingly. Yes, I would like to see ramen pics. How do I want them set up this time around? Yeah, that's good enough. Alright, so I'm not sure how I want to start this, or what specifically the topic or title of this video is going to be. But the context of what I want to talk about today is more or less how a lot of my previous works for videos I've done about the furry fandom have been very heavily referenced or used whenever the furry fandom has been brought up, whether it's in articles or a docu-series, or even at, like, conventions, with recently me being the guest of honor for Austria 2025, a furry convention in Austria that in its second year hit over 1,000 attendees. Which, for that whole experience alone, to say that I'm grateful and honored beyond belief to even be considered a guest of honor for a furry convention period is such an understatement, because truthfully, I'm just a YouTuber. That's it. I do nothing special. I'm the furry moist critical life jacket fetish YouTuber, okay? Nothing really that deep about it. I'm not a documentarian. I'm not a researcher. I have, like, no experience with doing research or publishing papers. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't even consider myself a videographer. I feel like it's the baseline for what you do on YouTube. You make videos. I just sit in front of a camera that I have hooked up to my PC because I'm too lazy to actually learn how the lighting works while I'm recording at a fraction of the quality. This is how little I know of what I'm doing, and honestly how, I guess, deserving I feel about really anything. So in the past week, having all of these things happen where I realized I was referenced, or one of my videos was referenced in an article about some football player at a university, maybe being a furry, I guess, I don't know, I have to read the article, and then being referenced, or I guess one of my videos, maybe, being referenced in the Furry Detectives docu-series, the one on AMC Plus that everyone's been scared about. I watched the first episode, and within like 6 to 7 minutes, I actually show up in it, within reference of them talking about POPUFURs or popular individuals in the furry community. It's all in good context, don't get me wrong, but there's a little bit of ick that I have with it for a reason I'll discuss later, which I'm sure you already know about if you saw my recap or review of the first episode, which hopefully should be out before this video is, but that's besides the point. The point is, with all of these things happening, with me being the guest of honor for a furry convention where I genuinely never thought I would get an opportunity like that again after TFF, knowing I'd kind of, what's the word that kids use nowadays? Fallen off? I don't really care about falling off. If I become irrelevant, that actually might be a good thing in the long run. Hey, we're still here, and I'm pretty grateful and happy for the opportunities that I've had. But with that being in mind, where years back I had thought I would never ever get the opportunity to be a guest of honor at a furry convention again, because realistically, I'm just a YouTuber. But having that happen, having spent an entire week for the first time in Europe, in Austria, at a European furry convention, giving talks and, I guess, lectures on content creation. I don't know, I'm just having a very surreal, like, reflective moment ever since I got back. Because the one feeling that I came back with from visiting Austria was filled with nothing but love. I was so grateful beyond belief, and everyone was so kind and so nice, and really enjoyed my talks, really enjoyed my presence. Hell, even some people who said that they don't really talk to many people or make many friends or get really close to anyone said they had an awesome time getting to meet me and spend time with me. That really hit harder than I initially thought. I mean, just even thinking about it now, like, fuck. I feel a little undeserving, if that makes sense. And I found ways to sort of mitigate that in years past, and that's how I plan on sort of, I guess, dealing with these emotions and feelings now, which are all great, you know, genuinely. I feel nothing but happy and grateful and honored and blessed to even be in this position. I feel like others are much more deserving of some of the opportunities that have been given. But again, you know, if I'm giving them, the one approach that I've taken, which is how I kind of worked myself into feeling deserving of it, not in an expectant point, but not feeling like imposter syndrome is taking the wheel. I've always taken the approach of, if I am feeling undeserving about something that someone is giving me, I try to work like someone who does deserve it. So I guess the proper topic or title of today's video is, my work being recognized alongside the furry fandom is really weird. Not a bad weird, don't get me wrong, but it's weird, it's surreal, and honestly, I didn't think it really had that much of an impact as it actually does. And I know it took me this long to kind of figure it out. I mean, I've kind of known that. I just don't really think about that because I've thought whenever I think about myself as being more than just a YouTuber. I think, okay, that's egotistical. That's narcissistic. That is someone who thinks too heavily of themselves. But I've learned in time, especially with kind of a confidence boost and just kind of knowing confidently how I feel about myself and separating that objectively from like actually trying to gas myself up to be a bigger person or better person than I actually am. I've learned that in time, you can think about things about yourself in more of an objective sense. Like for me, objectively, I've understood that what I do and the videos that I make has an impact on the furry community. It's just really interesting to look at this and think about it in the way of all that has happened in the past week, with being the guest of honor for a European furry convention where it's its second year happening. It's just, for me, I never really saw being a YouTuber as that big of a deal. Especially even with what I did. Like, anyone realistically could do it, and I'd honestly argue that there are so many other furry YouTubers and content creators that do such a fucking better job, quality-wise, research-wise. Like, that's why I say a lot of my streams, like, don't watch me, go and watch, like, Finn, or, like, Xyli, like, any of those other furry YouTubers. They put their heart and soul into what they do. I do, too, but they do such a better job, and have such a better end product than anything that I could make. I'm being entirely honest here. Nothing has really revolutionized since me sitting in this chair and recording, besides maybe moving around these fursuit heads in the back, and maybe making my bed so that it looks a little bit nicer in the background when I'm recording this. Yeah, I don't know, maybe this is more of a venting video than it should be. Is this good? Is this bad? It's probably bad. But to come back, all that, to immediately see, and this is just what I've found from coming back, one of my works has been referenced in an article for a football player supposedly being a furry because of something they may or may not have posted. We'll go over it later. But one of the videos or YouTube shorts that I did for what a furry is, explained in a minute or less, was used in reference to the article, embedded in the article to reference what the furry fandom is about and what it means to be a furry. And genuinely, they explained it pretty accurately for what a furry is. Which makes me happy, you know, they used my work as reference to accurately describe the furry fandom from a football article website. The website's called Bro Bible, so you know, I mean, a little far from the starting point of where furries are. We're at Bro Bible. But specifically in this article, they get to a point of explaining what a furry is and whether or not the quarterback in question is a furry from the post that was made or the post that was shared on his account. This quarterback, known as Josh Hoover being a furry, came from a photo that was faked or edited to make it look like this fursuit photo was taken from his Instagram store. And in reality, the fursuit photo was taken from the furry subreddit. Also, why of all things would you want to create controversy in the football, college, university community and involve furries? And also keep in mind, this is from a college called TCU, or Texas Christian University. What part about that name makes you feel like furries would really be involved at all there? But all in all, despite whatever controversy being non-problematic, a nothing burger at the end of the day, it was still pretty cool to see that, one, my video was referenced, or my work was referenced to describe what the furry fandom is, or what a furry is, and when they gave the definition of what a furry is, or explained it in their words, it was pretty accurate. So even for me, with the idea of wanting to teach people, like, the truth about the furry community, the cool things about it, and accurately, like, defining what it is and knowing what it is about it, I'm still teaching people that aren't furries too. And that's really cool to think, you know, it kind of puts it into perspective that, you know, my message or video kind of goes past, you know, teaching furries. I mean, the whole, I guess, target demographic of that video was non-furries in the first place. I don't think I need to teach furries what a furry is. It was just really cool that that actually had the effect of teaching them accurately and giving an accurate definition for what a furry is. Not that it really needs to be nowadays, but everyone kind of needs a refresher and needs it explained in their own way, because everyone has their own definition of what a furry is. But that's besides the point. But it was really nice to just see that I was brought up, or at least my work was brought up, or video was referenced or embedded in a good way towards this weird controversy drama thing. And that was the first one. The article was pretty cool at the end of the day. About the first episode of The Furry Detectives. Well, my work, or at least what I did, is brought up in a good context, but if we're talking about accurately, it's a little off. This is what I was tagged in a bunch, where someone would take a screenshot of, like, whatever it was. I think it was like the first 12, 13 minutes, give or take, into the Furry Detectives episode 1, where they're talking about like POPUFURs. They specifically use the term POPUFURs, notable members of the community who, have a following, who've built up things based on the fandom and knowledge on it. Pretty simple. And this is a direct screenshot of how it shows up in the Furry Detectives. Here's the thing about this video, though. It doesn't exist. And there are multiple ways of looking at or thinking about what they did. But basically, this video that they're showing here does not currently exist on my channel and was fabricated, manufactured in some way to look like this. Now, keep in mind, I do have a video called Are You a Furry? That video currently I think is around 200-something thousand views. So if we're referencing even that video, they changed the title, definitely didn't have the subscriber count that this video would have been uploaded 3 months ago. It wouldn't have had this view count at 3 months. And the video itself was uploaded 5 years ago. Context that I'm brought up in, I'm okay with. It's just more of the principle of what was changed that has me concerned on the authenticity of it. Why did that need to be changed to begin with? If this was supposed to be supportive of the community and it was not supposed to slight furries, especially with the docuseries having the supposed approach that it did, with shining a light on the furry community and what it does positively in the face of this genuine fucking evil, that's what has me concerned about it. Why it was even changed to begin with. Because if I am recognizing this for my own videos, what else is awry in the rest of the episode or the rest of the docuseries as a whole? What was changed? And that's why I checked my blue sky eventually and found apparently that a lot of the other YouTubers that were featured in that segment in the docuseries had falsified videos. This came from a post that was tagged in from Mero, who is an absolute sweetie. Go and check out his videos. This is from a post that they had made on Blue Sky where they said, the AMC Zoophile documentary is showing furry YouTubers without permission who weren't even creating videos at the time of the story. And strangely, some of these videos don't even exist in the first place. And apparently this is the case for Purecore, where one of his videos just did not line up views-wise. And same thing with Finn, supposedly. Anyway, despite all of that, it's just been very surreal and interesting to see any of my work referenced or featured alongside mentionings of the furry fandom or within reference to the furry fandom at large. It's hard to talk about any of this because I have been one that does not want to be seen or at least sound egotistical or narcissistic. But I've learned in time, especially with kind of self-reflecting, getting confidence for who I am, confidence as Beta, the person, realizing that I can talk about things and the effect that I have objectively without it sounding like I'm trying to rub my ego. Because at the end of the day, I don't really have much of it. I try to think very humbly about what I do. It's so surreal even being in this position as a YouTuber, as someone who for years really wanted to get somewhere, but just kind of kept doing what they enjoyed, whether it was Call of Duty commentary or live streaming or ranting commentary or furry info videos. And oh, hey, we're here now. It's very surreal and neat to think about that it led to all of this, where I'm referenced in a docu-series episode, I'm referenced in an article that mentions furries, and I was offered the guest of honor position for a furry convention second year in Austria. Like, that to me is just, I can't help but feel immensely grateful, but also very undeserving of this with the position of just being a furry YouTuber. Like, this video right now, I didn't really do much research. I jotted down some notes on a Google Doc, and that was it. And I'm barely referencing it. I'm just kind of going off the cuff now, and we're an hour and a fucking half into the video, and it's probably like 10 to 11 minutes in the actual video on YouTube. It just feels really surreal, and I feel very undeserving of the position and title, or I guess associations that I've had, references, notability. Like, I'm just a furry YouTuber. I'm just a guy at the end of the day. So it feels weird to be mentioned alongside the furry fandom at large and kind of be seen, have people tell me that I'm like a pillar in the furry fandom or I'm a figurehead, when it really doesn't feel that way, and I feel like I shouldn't be. If anything, I don't think there should really be any figureheads in the furry community. But that's also another discussion that, out of context, this already doesn't sound good, that I want to have for later. Because saying that I am the voice, the singular voice of the furry fandom, does such a disservice to the community when there are so many different voices out there, so many different sub-communities and people that really put their heart and souls into their work and craft in the community that I might not be able to do justice, and even along the lines of like undeserving. And this really has resulted in ultimately imposter syndrome at the end of the day, which I know is something that a lot of folks kind of go through no matter what it is. If you're creating anything or you're putting yourself out there, you're going to have some imposter syndrome in some way, shape, or form. For me, I've had imposter syndrome pretty hard in the past, and even recently with having these very gracious and honorable references through the past week, I felt nothing but grateful and honored, but at the same time, I'm like, why wasn't it someone else who I feel is a bit more deserving of this? I feel like I don't deserve what I've been given. And I've had this issue that I've found ways to mitigate in the past, and this is something that I have to keep reminding myself and keep working towards, and that's why I'm even doing this video in the first place, to talk about. I had an instance later last year where I was building my new PC, I was getting all these parts for it because I needed a new rig to be able to work on, and my grandmother pulled me to the side and gave me a check to pretty much cover the entire cost of my new PC, which was at least $2,500, by the way. And she gave me the money and she's like, you use this for your work. I'm like, Graham, I don't feel deserving of this. Like, you should give this to, you know, people that work harder, not one that pisses away their entire engineering degree to be a full-time furry YouTuber. And they're like, you're working hard. Use this to make videos and to work better and easier and harder. Use this to work on your videos, to work on your business. And I can't really say no to her. You know, she's my grandmother. I love her so much. When my grandmother gave me the money for my new PC, I worked really hard throughout the end of that year, and I still have worked hard to feel like I deserve this money, to feel like I deserve them giving me pretty much a whole new PC. I've made full use of it, and I think that's the best that I could honestly do justice to for what I've been given. And I feel like the same thing applies for a lot of what I've found in the past week with the references in the docu-series and the article, and even just coming back from being the guest of honor at a convention. Even if I'm undeserving of it, even if I feel, or even realistically might be undeserving of it, I'm gonna work my ass off and work hard to feel like I do deserve it, and that it wasn't especially wasted on someone. And that's why at Awustria, I gave the best fucking panels that I could have. I did the best job I could have doing all sorts of things, from going to the open content creator panel where I got to meet Max for the first time, to doing the maid cafe, to judging a dance competition, which I didn't really have much experience doing. And I asked plenty of other dancer friends to help me out with like really gauging and judging someone in the dance comp. And I know this is kind of prefacing a video that's going to happen in the future. I really did go into this con for Awustria, and I'm really happy that I did. I think I did some of the best jobs with those panels, the introduction to content creation part 1 and 2. I think I did an excellent job with those, and I'm so happy with myself with how they went. And I think to that extent, you know, I did the best job I could to be deserving of that opportunity. And I think genuinely my approach and mentality has really been helpful with getting past that imposter syndrome, with getting past that feeling of being undeserving of what I've been given. Whether it's getting to this point as a furry YouTuber, whether it's getting to go to a con, or whatever I'm given that I don't feel deserving of, I'm going to work like someone who does. I know the phrasing with a lot of what I've been saying is a little off, but I hope you get the idea. And I think that's the important takeaway of it, is just find ways to mitigate a lot of the negative feelings that might be holding you back from creating whatever it is you want to. If anything, you know, seeing all of this happen and having experienced Awustria and going to Austria for the first time, I genuinely feel nothing but motivated and inspired to keep doing things. That's what this video is. It is me creating something at the end of the day. And even if it is just me rambling on for an hour and a half plus, I can only hope that this does make a difference for whoever might be watching this. But if you enjoyed this, be sure to let me know in the comments below. I greatly appreciate all the feedback and support. Hopefully what I said made sense. I'm not trying to give any set, like, psychological, philosophical advice. I'm just kind of saying how I feel and giving my viewpoint on it, and maybe it may or may not be helpful. So if it was, please let me know, and if I fucked up with saying something, please also let me know, and I can try to clarify that in the future. I want to do more of these rambling, fun, off-the-cuff videos, so if you have anything you want me to ramble on about, please do let me know. The only one that I could really think of at the moment is a discussion on AI and the furry fandom, because I've seen some very interesting things unfold on social media revolving around AI and furries, surprisingly, and I think it would be a good discussion. Hopefully a healthy one. I don't really know. So if you want to see me try something different as well, be sure to also let me know. If you want to support what I do, be sure to check out my Patreon. You have access to all the early videos before I upload them, at least a day, trying to get that to a little bit more so. But I've been on a roll with recording videos this week. I already done like 3 to 4 or so now, and I still have like 2 to 3 more I want to film. So yeah, you're in store for some pretty fun stuff to come. But either way, that's about going to do it for me. Have a wonderful night, take care, life stay jacket, treat people like people, and that's about it, guys. Take care.